three different decisions in the financial management. The first decision is financing decision, number two is investment decision, and number three is dividend decision. And the fourth one is working capital decision. These are the four decisions that we have discussed in the last class. Okay, and then after we have started the discussion about the objectives of financial management. So there are two objectives: profit maximization and wealth maximization. We have tried to understand the profit maximization. Each and every business is running for or started for the earning a profit. Okay, the main focus toward the profit, and because of profit, the firm can earn a good value, good reputation in the market. So that's why profit is an important parameter. And there are two ways to maximize the profit. Number one, to increase the revenue income of the company, and second, to control the cost or expenses of the company. But in a traditional view, okay, the profit maximization, it's having some limitations, and it's a narrow concept. Why narrow approach or a narrow concept? Because it's mainly looking for a profit. Okay, we all are ignoring the other things. Okay? So that's why it is considered as the narrow concept. Then actually we have discussed the limitations of profit maximization. There are three limitations: a narrow concept, okay, ignore the risk and time value of the money, and it's only possible for a short run, not for a long run. So these are the limitations. And then after we have moved toward the discussion about the wealth maximization. Okay, I think so. Up to this we have discussed, right? From this slide, our discussion is pending. Or this slide is completed in the last session. Okay, still it's pending to discuss. Am I right? Okay, so let's try to understand the concept of wealth maximization. Here, maximizing the wealth of the organization means maximizing the net present value. In the next units, we will calculate the net present value. As of now, net present value means the present value benefits minus present value of cost. It means benefits are more than the cost. Benefits are more than the expenses. Then this difference is considered as net present value. But we are considering a present value. Later on, in next one or two sessions, we will start the calculation of present value. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now, the main aspect here in a wealth maximization is mainly we looking for maximizing the wealth of the shareholders. If you see this slide, generally we have four types of organizations. Okay, the first types of organization or form of organization is sole proprietorship, in which only one person will bring the capital, one person will handle the or operate the business, and whatever the liabilities, risk and profit all goes to that particular one person. Second forms of organization, we have partnership firm, in which minimum we have 2 partners, maximum 200 partners, and these partners bring the capital, they operate the business, and whatever the liabilities, risk, returns, everything is there, they will distribute among themselves as per their decided ratio. But when it comes to the third types of organization, the company forms of organization, in the company forms of organization, we have two different parties. The first party is management of the company. Number two is owner of the company. Now the management of the company, okay, are mainly board of directors, CEO, CFO, and MD, chairman. These are considered as a management. Now, can you tell me who are they considered as owner of the company? Who are? Okay. Sahil said shareholders. बाकी सबका क्या आंसर है? What about others? Kamal, Dhruv, Nidhi, Parth, Sumil, Tanisha, Vats, Krupali, Dev, Dhruvi, Alpesh, Riya, Prisha, and rest of all other. Okay, so the equity shareholders are considered as owner of the company, real owner of the company. Why? Because they are taking the risk. Risk. Let me explain what type of risk. See, company has issued the debentures, 10% debentures. It means debenture holders will get the 10% interest every year in respective of profit or loss. Whether the company earning the profit or whether company suffering losses, that doesn't matter for the debenture holders. They will get the fixed rate and 10% interest every year. Same applicable to preference shareholders. They will get the preference dividend as per the fixed rate 5%, 8%, 10% as per the rules. But for equity shareholders, if there is a profit, okay, if there is a surplus profit, and if the board of directors are ready, management of the company are ready to share this profit among the shareholders, then and there the dividend is there. If the company is suffering the losses, they will get the zero return. So that's why the equity shareholders are considered as a risk taker, and that's why they known as owner of the company. Okay, and when we called wealth maximization, it means maximizing the wealth of the equity shareholders. Maximizing the wealth of equity shareholders. Now the concept is clear. Wealth maximization. It's very simple, okay? Wealth maximization means maximizing the wealth of the company. Here, wealth of the company means wealth of the owners. And here, owners means equity shareholders. Now, let's see how many ways are there to see, increase or to maximize the wealth of the shareholders. So, there are two ways to improve the wealth of the equity shareholders. The first way is dividend. By declaring the regular dividend to the equity shareholders, the company can improve the wealth of the shareholders. Suppose company declaring the dividend 5%, 10%. So whatever the dividend declared by the company, they converted in rupees. This amount will received by the equity shareholders, and as they receive their wealth, the income will increase, and they get some more money to expand their life, to improve their well-being. This is the first way. Now the second way. To explain the second way, go to your Google. Go to the Google. Everyone, are you with me? Yes. Okay. Open your Google and search share price of Reliance Limited in 2015. That is done. Okay. Then tell me the figure. Around 446, if I'm not remembering, forgetting the number. In 2014, the price of the shares is 446, and present value of the Reliance Limited is nearby 2,210 rupees. Nearby, am I right? 2210 or 2208. So over a time period, see, if I purchase the one share of the Reliance in 2014-15, I need to pay only 446 rupees. And now I will get the, if I will share this, I will sell this share, I will get 2,210 rupees. So it means there is a difference around by 16 rupees. Sorry, 1,600 rupees. Okay, 1,600 rupees difference is there. So that 1,600 rupees are considered as capital gain. The first way to improve, to maximize the wealth of the shareholders is to give a dividend to shareholders. And number two, by increasing the share price of the company shares, they will get the more capital gain, and by gaining that capital gain, they will get the more wealth. If you see the famous investor of the company, of the country, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, what he has done? He has done the same. He started with the small amount, he invested in one share, then after whatever the return generated from that particular investment, that return and plus that investment, again invested, and from that he now becomes a millionaire. So now are we clear about these two ways? Number one is dividend declaration, dividend payment, and number two is capital gain. Yes, everyone, are we clear about this one? Okay, moving ahead. Some of superiorities of the wealth maximization over the profit maximization. Here, superiorities means some of points and elements are there in wealth maximization which are not there in profit maximization. Or else in the second language, we can say that some of the aspect or some of the limitations of profit maximizations was removed by this wealth maximization. That's why it is called as a superior than the profit maximization. Number one, long run survival and growth of the firm. So wealth maximization is not only for a short term, it is for a long run, and it will help a firm to grow and survive in the market. Number two, ultimately, we are thinking about the well-being of the owners, economic well-being of the owners. The main objective of wealth maximization is to improve the well-being, welfare of the owners. Number three, as we have discussed in the last slide, regular and constant dividend payment to shareholders. And by taking a various financial decisions, company always try to improve the share price. And by improving the share price, they are getting the capital appreciation. Capital appreciation means more market value in the market. Okay. Now, see, shareholders always prefer a wealth maximization rather than the profit maximization. Why? Because in wealth maximization, we focus on risk and time value of the money, and it's also considered the future case inflow, future dividend, earning per share, everything. So from the above two slide, I can say that the profit maximization having narrow approach, it's limited to profit only, and it's not for a long run. For a short run, it is very helpful, but for a long run, wealth maximization is very, very important. Okay, for a growth and survival of the business, wealth maximization is important. Shareholders always prefer the wealth maximization. It considers the risk, time value of money, and future aspect of the company. So that's why the wealth maximization is superior than the profit maximization. Now the last point about the wealth maximization, some of limitation and criticisms of wealth maximization. Even though the wealth maximization is far better than the profit maximization, but it's again having some limitations. The first limitation is it's a narrow concept. Narrow concept or a narrow, it is in the narrow sense because it's only think about the equity shareholders. Your wealth maximization means maximizing the wealth of the equity shareholders. So it's ignoring the other stakeholders. That's why it is considered as narrowing in a sense, narrow operation from that point of view only. Okay. Otherwise, from profit maximization, it's far better. It's so wide as compared to profit maximization. But when looking to the overall society, when I'm looking to overall stakeholders of the company, it's limited to only shareholders. That's why it is a narrow. Number two, the society always gives something. Something means society provide the resources, society provide the main power, society provide the employees labor, society, it means a nature environment provide the air or water, or even though land is provided by the nature. So by using the resources, social resources, we need to give something to that resources, to the society, to the nature. So in the wealth maximization concept, again we are ignoring the wealth maximization of society, wealth maximization or a safety of environment, safety of earth. So we are ignoring this concept. We are ignoring the society somehow. So when the question asks, explain the objectives of financial management, okay, you need to you need to write these three parameters. Sorry, five parameters. Number one, explain the profit maximization. Number two, explain the limitation of profit maximization. Number three, explain the concept of wealth maximization. Number four, superiority of wealth maximization. And number five, shortly write the limitation. These five parameters will be there in an 8-mark question of objectives of financial management. Are we clear up to this? The objectives of financial management are clear, everyone? I see there are 25 students in a class and only few students are replying. Good. Okay. Now few points are there. Okay. Already we have discussed this. This is not important for you. Leave it. Okay. Now see, if somebody asks that is there any relationship between the financial management and other disciplines? Your answer must be yes. There is a relationship between financial management and other disciplines. Other disciplines are economic, accounting, mathematics, production management, marketing, HR. Okay. So financial management have some similarities, have some direct, indirect connection with these other disciplines, other subjects. Let me explain one or two. You will get the idea. Okay. See, in economics, we have one rule, the rule of demand and price of the product, or price of product and demand. Can you say that rule, or what we call a relationship between a price and demand? क्या आप मुझे बता सकते हो according to economics what will be the relation between price of the product and demand of the product? Yes, you may unmute yourself to answer the question. When demand rises, price falls, vice versa. Okay, very good, nice, right, absolutely right. When the price of the product, okay, but before that, please note down this. Other factors are remain same. Okay, other factors. If the other factors are remain same, and the price of the product will increase, then demand of the product will decrease. And reverse case, when the price product will decrease, demand will increase. Okay, the first rule. Now see the similarity in financial management. Now, have you seen the scam 1992? Arshad Mehta scam 1992. Okay. Have you remember the famous dialogue of Arshad Mehta? Yes. The dialogue is risk है तो इश्क है. The dialogue is not famous that because of this lines, but this dialogue is famous due to the law behind the finance, and that law is like more risk, more return, less risk, less return. Are you getting my point? In economics, we have rule. In economics, we have law. Similarly, in a financial management, we have some rules and we have some laws. So from that point of view, both the subjects are same. Both the subjects have some relations. Either they have positive, they have negative, they have direct, indirect, but some relations are there. ओके, जैसे जाकिर खान बोलते हैं ना, जाकिर और जाहिर खान, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर द एग्जैक्ट नेम, बट खान इज देयर. दैट हम जो पत्थर फेंक रहे हैं वो सभी पत्थर निशाने पे लगे वो जरूरी थोड़े हैं. ओके, कुछ पत्थर हम ट्राई करने के लिए भी फेंकते हैं. ऐसा ही कुछ डायलॉग है उनका. यस, जाकिर खान. सभी जो आपने पत्थर फेंके हैं वो सब निशाने पे लगे जरूरी थोड़ी ना है, कुछ ट्राई करने के लिए भी होते हैं. वैसे ही होके तो यहाँ पे भी रूल्स आर रूल्स. दोनों में रूल्स डिफरेंट है बट द कंसेप्ट्स आर रिमेन सेम. नाउ गो फॉर द सेकंड डिसिप्लिन, फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट एंड अकाउंटिंग. इन अकाउंटिंग व्हाट वी आर डूइंग? We are preparing the tables, we are preparing the accounts. Why we are preparing the tables? Why we are preparing the accounts? Why we are preparing the statements? To know the profit of the company, to know the profit of the business for a particular year. In a financial management, we are doing the same. We are preparing the statements, we are preparing the tables to know the profit of from the investment, to know the profit from the project, to know the profit from the other financial securities. Are you getting my point? Yes. Now see the third discipline, financial management and mathematics. In mathematics, we have some formulas, and based on that formulas, we are calculating some figures, numbers. In financial management, also we have numbers, also we have formulas. So from that point of view, both the disciplines are same. Similarly, in production management, we have some thumb rule, we have some theories. In financial management, we have some thumb rules, we have some theories. In marketing management, we have some concept, we have some theories, we have some rules and regulations. Similarly, in the financial management, we have some rules and regulations. So from that point of view, the financial management and other disciplines are internally connected. Now, last point about this slide, this is not the part of your syllabus. I have explained to you just for your kind information. Are we clear about this? ये आपके सिलेबस में है नहीं, फिर भी हमने डिस्कस किया है ताकि आपको पता चले कि फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट मतलब फाइनेंशियल मैनेजमेंट में सब कुछ आता है. Okay, now moving ahead, number 2. Next topic of this class, Please open your book and write down the next title. Role of finance manager. Role of finance manager. Now is it visible? Okay, write down the title. Role of finance manager. It's not financial manager, but it's finance manager. Let me correct it. Role of finance manager. Suppose you have completed your BBA with finance specialization, okay, in the next year, and then after you have completed your MBA with the again specialization in finance, and now you are appointed as a finance manager of one particular company. Now, can you tell me, as a finance manager, what is your role and responsibilities? Which things you need to do as a finance manager? There are 35 students, so at least 10 points must be there. 10 points must be there. Yes, one by one, quickly. एज अ फाइनेंस मैनेजर, मैंने आपको फाइनेंस मैनेजर अपॉइंट कर दिया मेरी कंपनी में. ओके, मेरी कंपनी यहाँ पे केकेबीओल के पास में, आई हैव अ फूड बिजनेस, बहुत अच्छी तरह से चल रहा है, मैं महीने का 10 लाख रुपीस कमा रहा हूँ. नाउ यू आर अपॉइंटेड as a finance manager. Now you need to think about the finance of my company. Okay, to manage the capital. Okay, whenever we thinking about whenever we are discussing about the finance or role of finance manager in a company, the first role of finance manager is to manage a capital. Here, equity capital, preference capital, and debt capital. Okay, to manage the finance related issues. Okay, very good, Neville. Issues related to the financial management, very right. Jenny said to study the financial report. Okay, good. You need to study only. Okay, the preparation of financial report will be done by accounting department. Plan and long-term goals. Okay, plan long-term financial goals. The specific word in Sahil is financial goals. Okay. Next, help management to make a financial decision. Very right, absolutely right, Jenny. Yes, others. बाकी सबको क्या हुआ? यश, मीत, आकाश, विधि, श्रेय, रिधि, निधि, झलक, धूमिल, केवल, तनिषा, चिराग, खुशहाली, दर्शिनी, ध्रुवी, ध्रुति, Risha. What are you doing, my dear? All. Riya, Pratik, Prashant. Yes, answer me. आप क्या करोगे एज अ फाइनेंस मैनेजर? अगर मैंने आपको फाइनेंस मैनेजर बना दिया तो, या ऐसे करोगे? यस सर, यस सर. मैं बोलूँ कि जाने तो ये, इसको जाने दो, उसको जाने दो, यस सर, और 2 साल के बाद आप और सर दो ही बचेंगे फिर कंपनी में. Yes, analyzing the target, very nice. Help management to make a financial decisions, raising the funds. Okay, good. See, now listen to me very careful. As per the traditional approach, as per the traditional thinking, finance managers have only two things, or two functions, two roles. The first role, raising the finance, acquiring the finance, procuring the capital. We need to worry about only first aspect, and first aspect is from where we can get the money. हमको कहाँ से money मिलेगा? Number two, utilization of money, utilization of capital, utilization of money. Traditionally, we have two roles only. Okay, from where we can get the money and where we are utilizing that money. But in modern financial management, the role of finance manager is not limited to these two aspects. It is wider than this. So functionally, we can divide the role of the finance manager into two parts. He need to act as a controller as per the traditional approach. Okay, as I discussed that, okay, only two role that he need to do. Number one, from where we can get the money and where we are utilizing that money. But in a modern approach, in a modern financial management, the finance manager is not only the controller, he is a facilitator, and he needs to provide the facilities like this. Provision of capital, he need to make a provision of capital, equity capital, preference capital, debt capital. He need to maintain the relationship with the investors of the company. Here investors are bankers, financial institute, preference shareholders, equity shareholders. He need to maintain the short-term finance. His role to maintain the banking and custody records. He need to continuously working on credit and collection from the debtors. Okay, you need to think, or you need to provide a guidance about the insurance, general insurance, fire insurance. He need to fulfill the requirement of investments. He need to think about the planning for a control. Planning for control means a planning for proper utilization of resources, reporting and interpretation, evaluating and consulting the various segment, tax administration. Whenever government needs some report, he need to provide the report. Protection of our assets. Okay, here protection of assets means some of assets are there. On those assets, companies taken a loan. Economic appraisals, managing the funds. Okay, meeting the financial needs of the company, measuring the returns, cost control, price setting, forecasting the profit, forecasting the cash flow. So in a modern financial management, whenever the finance body is there, whenever the money is there in a company, in that all the areas, in that all the operations, financial management manager will be there to help the company. He need to provide the money to other departments to purchase the raw material, to purchase the machinery, to purchase the plant. Okay, he need to collect the collections from the sales department. He need to grant and provide funds to HR department for employees, salaries, bonus, remunerations, and everything. So are we clear about the role of finance manager in a company? Traditionally, if you look at, he has only two roles. First role, from where company can get the fund, कहाँ से हमें मनी मिलेगा. दूसरा रोल क्या था कि जो मनी हमारे पास है हम उसको किस तरह से यूज करेंगे. But in nowadays, okay, if somebody asks in your final examination, in a mid examination, explain or discuss the role of finance manager in 21st century, you need to write this all the points. Okay, shortly you need to explain this all the points. So this is called as role of finance manager. With this slide, this topic is over from my side. If you have anything to share, if you have any query, any question, please share. By today or by tomorrow morning. Not only this PPT, but I will upload everything. Okay, your syllabus PPT, PPT for theoretical part, PPT of this PPT, or next we are discussing that also. even though I am in a process to upload the first assignment. Okay, don't worry, within this week you will get everything: assignment, material, PPT, PDF, Google Sheet, including the solution of practical question. Okay, and session recordings. Okay, so approximately we have 9 minutes. So if no doubts and no queries are there, I'm going for next point, the next part of this unit. Okay, please open your book and write down the next, the most important part. See, up to this, whatever we have discussed, that is the first part of the unit. Actually, in syllabus, we have only first unit. We don't have part one and part two, but for your better understanding, I have divided this entire unit in two parts. The first part is theoretical parts, okay, in which we have theoretical points: objective, functions, decision, scope, role, concept, meaning, definition, everything. That is considered as a theoretical part, as a part one, unit one. Now we are moving for a part two of this first unit, okay, and that is time value of money. Note down the title: time value of money. Title is done. Shortly, it is known as TVM. Maybe the question asked in MCQ or 1 mark question, that what do you mean by, or write down the full form of TVM, and full form will be time value of money. Then some authors also called as a time preference for money. Some authors also call it time preference for money. In this second part, we will try to understand the concept and then three methods of time value of money: compounding method, discounting method, and annuity method. Please take a screenshot of this slide. Take a screenshot of this slide. These are the short forms that we are using during this discussion, okay, in this topic, in this point. PV stand for present value, FV stand for future value, R stand for rate of interest, and stand for number of years, P stand for principal amount, NPV stand for net present value, and CT stand for cash flow at the end of the year. Take a screenshot. Don't worry, I will upload this PPT in your Google Classroom, but when we go for a practical question, at that time, we need to write, or we need to use the short forms. So at that time, you are not supposed to go to the Google Classroom and open the PPT and then write the short form. So it's better to have a screenshot whenever it is required. Just go to the gallery, open it, and write on it. Then, okay. Now we try to understand the concept of time value of money. Okay, we have discussed the example of purchasing pens with the 10 rupees in your class. Yes or no? We have discussed that example in your class. That suppose I have 10 rupees in 2018. How many pens I am able to. Okay, let me explain this one. Okay, see, generally we are using a normal pen. Okay, a plastic pen. Generally we have SS Natural. That is a famous pen in Rajkot that we are using to write the assignment and to write the answers. So whenever you are in your 10th and 11th standard, you might require that pen, okay, and you go for the purchase. So it's around 2017-18, and your mummy or your parents has give you a currency note of ₹10. आपको कितने रुपीस दिए? 10 rupees. And you are going to purchase a pen, a simple pens. Can you tell me how many pens you will or you get with this 10 rupee currency note in 2018, 17-18? मैं तब की बात कर रहा हूँ. In 2017-18, how many pens you will get with ₹10? Simple pen. Okay. Yes, Shahil and Janvi. Okay, at that time, exactly I remember, the price of the pen is ₹2 per pen, and with the 10 rupees, we can purchase 5 pens. Are you agree with me? We are able to purchase 5 pens. Okay. Now, at present, in 2021, I will provide you a same currency note of ₹10. And can you tell me how many pens you can purchase right now? How many pens? 3 pens. So 3 rupees per pen, okay? But if you go for a purchase with the 10 rupees, you will get only 3 pens. So now try to understand. Okay, this represent that if I have the same currency note in 2018, my purchasing power is to purchase 5 pens. If I have the same currency note of ₹10 right now in 2021, my purchasing power is to purchase only 3 pens. It means as the time pass, as the time spent, the value of the money will decrease. Not from the point of view of currency value, but I am explaining time value of money. So the value of the money is depend upon the time when it is or it will be received. So here value of the money is specifically depend upon time. Simply if I explain that the value of today money is more than the money available in our future. Okay. So if you see the 2018 and 2020, and if you are right now, we are in 2018. So in 2018, the 10 rupees are more valuable than the 10 rupees we have in 2021. Are we clear about this concept? Okay. A present today value of the money is always more than the future value or future amount. So money received in a future is not as valuable as money received today. Okay, let me ask one more question. अभी मैं आपको बोलूं, I will give you a 10 lakh rupees right now, a check of rupees 10 lakh, and second option that I will give you suppose 12 lakh rupees after completion of your graduation. It means after 2 years. Which will you be prefer? 10 lakh rupees right now or 12 lakh rupees after completing your graduation? ₹10 lakh right now or 12 lakh rupees after 2 years? Okay. Somebody comes to me and he or she said that, sir, give me 10 lakh rupees right now, okay? And after 2 years, I will again come to you, then give me another 12 lakh rupees. Okay, so Neville said right now, sir, and Sahil said after graduation. So Neville has understand the concept of time value of money. Sahil, again you are not getting the point. Maybe I am wrong, but as per my question and your answer, I can say that 100% you not get the answer, because if you have understood the time value of the money, we always prefer money today itself. If I ask the same question in the first session, okay, in the first session of the financial management, I guaranteed you that 90% of students will say that we will prefer a 12 lakh rupees out instead of 10 lakh rupees right now. Why? Because at that time you are looking only for more money. You are looking for a currency value of the money. But when I have explained this time value of money, now you are not looking for a currency value, the 10 lakh or 12 lakh, but you are looking for the time value. If I have a 10 lakh rupees right now, if may I invest this 10 lakh rupees in some way, in some investment opportunities, definitely I will get more than amount of 12 lakh. So number one is investment. Number two, that in that 10 lakh rupees, whatever I can purchase right now, that might be possible that the same thing is not available in the 12 lakh after 2 years. 10 lakh की तो बात छोड़ो, 12 lakh में भी वो particular product आपको नहीं मिलेगी after 2 years. So now are you getting my point? And the reasons behind the time value of money is inflation, preference for current consumption, risk, and investment opportunities. So this is all about from my side about the time value of the money. In the next class, we will go for the different component of time value of the money, that future value and present value. And in the next class, we also go for a practical aspect of this unit. Okay. If you have anything to share, please share. Otherwise, write your enrollment number. Only enrollment number. If you will write your name or a division, my system will not accept it and you will be considered as absent. So just write your enrollment numbers, and then after you are free to leave the class, go for a lunch and take a rest. Have a nice day. Stay at home, stay safe, and stay healthy. See you soon in the next class.